Dogs are racist, and the United Kingdom countryside is fascist. Oh, yes. You think I'm making it up? No, I'm only making up the second part. The first part is down to Wales. Yeah, Welsh Wales. They want to ban dogs in certain areas. There's a bit more to the story than that, so I'll tell you what it is. Basically, Labour-run Wales have been told to ban dogs from parts of the countryside to make the countryside more inclusive. Now, we have these bonkers stories every single bloody year, don't we? Oh, it's not welcoming to Asian people, black people, people of an ethnic minority. It's as if the countryside is full of people like the Werewolf of London. Remember that film with Rick Mayall where he's an extra and he's in the pub and they all walk into the pub and it goes silent? Now, I lived in the countryside for 30 years and that can happen. It does take you about 25 years to be accepted in the countryside. And no wonder, because a lot of people who do move to the countryside are complete and utter idiots. When I lived in a village in Northamptonshire, we had one guy who kept complaining that his Volvo got covered in mud because the farmer had been up and down the lane in his tractor with the muck spreader. It was like, you're living in the countryside, son. If you want to live in a barrack home, move back into town. I just had to get this up on the computer on my phone to explain it to you correctly. Labour-run Wales have been told to ban dogs from parts of the countryside to help make the outdoors, you couldn't make this crap up, anti-racist. Basically, they vowed, this is Wales, which is Labour-run, they want to end racism in the country by 2030. 2030. Laudable aim, but good luck with that, because I can still remember when the Welsh were burning down cottages owned by the English. Remember that Not the 9 o'clock news sketch where they said, come home to a real fire, and there was a cottage on fire. There will always be racism in towns and in the countryside. Yes, we should try and combat it, but how the hell will banning dogs do it? Well, according to a report, and this is the thing you see, the Welsh government now are trying to distance themselves from this, but they paid for the report to steer their anti-racist policy. And so this report said you should have dog-free zones set up to make outdoor areas more inclusive. They're insisting, this is the Labour government, they're not going to do it. We know how these things start, don't we? And it won't be a case that dogs will be banned from the green valleys of home. But what is this all about? If somebody's got a problem with a dog, and I would say, I've been out walking this morning with my daughter's dog, so I've been looking after him because he's been poorly. He's got a cut leg, so he had to go and have the stitches taken out in the vets this morning. Not pleasant. However, everybody stopped us as we walked past them back through the village, very gingerly with him. They stopped us to stroke the dog. I would suggest humbly that dogs are inclusive. They bring people into the crowd. They get you talking. They're a great way to break a social barrier. In fact, I've been joking with my wife and with Rosie that I've had to fight off the women because they all want to stroke him. Pity that the average age is well over mine. So if I could bring the age down, I'd be having the time of my life. I'm just joking, Lisa. But do you understand what I mean? But to say that dogs are the problem, it's just ridiculous. But it's part of this whole bullshit that we're constantly flooded with. Every year we have a story about the countryside is racist. As I say, I've lived there for 30 odd years. Of course, there's pockets of racism. There's pockets of racism everywhere, and you should confront it. But I would suggest the way to confront it is not with stupid stories like this, because it just makes you look and sound ridiculous. I agree with the Conservatives in Wales who say this is just a complete and utter waste of taxpayers' money. And as I say, it talks to something else. Oh, I hate that phrase. I'm sorry. By the way, welcome to the John Gaunt podcast. We're back on YouTube and we're back doing it in video format as well as audio. So feel free to catch it wherever you can. Let me just go back then. So there's this general feeling every year they have to attack the countryside. It's hideously white, as that woman would say from the new advert. You know who I'm talking about. hideously white. Well, it is primarily white people who live in the countryside, but we're a predominantly white country. But I've lived in the countryside with Asian people and black people as well. It's not wholly white. And they're certainly not burning a wicker man on the outskirts of the villages that I've lived in. And in fact, the countryside has got a lot of poverty and social problems, just as our inner cities have. I remember I got asked to go on Sunday Live, I think it was, a BBC programme. I think I've told you about this before, where they want you to play a certain part. So they rang up and said, do you want to come on this week? I said, how much? They said, I think it's 500 quid. So I said, yeah, I'll do that on a Sunday morning. So they said, oh, okay, we want you to talk about X, Y, and Z. So they asked me about that subject, and I must have given them the right answer. Then they said, what's your views on the countryside? Do you think people who live in the countryside have got it easy? Now, they obviously said that because they thought I was an urban bloke. Well, I was born and bred in Coventry. But as I say, I've lived in the countryside most of my adult life, and I adore it. I adore being here at the moment in Oxford. I just like the pace of life more, right? I love Coventry still, but it's a different pace of life. But they had me marked down, obviously, as an urban boy, so I would then slag off the countryside. Well, when I lived in my big posh house in Northamptonshire, the back garden was called Northamptonshire, by the way. No, it was a big house because I was earning stupid money. But next door to me, or next door but one, were two farm labourers, brothers, who lived with their mum in a rented house. They weren't earning a fortune. They worked on the hunt, repairing fences and hedges and the rest of it. They were scraping together a living. They weren't farmers. And this, just tie that in for a minute with this latest thing from Labour, who haven't got a clue about the countryside, who are now going to take away just not the computer, take away the inheritance tax or impose the inheritance tax on family farms. You know, if a farm's worth 3 million quid, but they haven't got the cash to pay it. So what's actually going to happen is these farmers are going to disappear. They're going to be bought up by huge conglomerates, and they're going to be turned into solar farms. It's obvious what Bill Gates is up to, and it's obvious what the establishment politicians want. They don't really want the countryside. They're like that bloke with a Volvo. They don't want cow shit up the side of their metaphorical car. They don't want it. They want the countryside to be there, forgetting it's the farmers and the farm labourers and the country folk who maintain it. It's the same kind of prejudice in the end that turned against fox hunting. That was the argument in the end with fox hunting. It wasn't, well, the cruelty thing's there, obviously, but do you know how many jobs the hunts also gave to ordinary people, ordinary working class people who didn't have any other way of earning their money? Like the two brothers I was telling you about, they maintain the hedgerows, the fences, and then when a horse dies, they're the ones who come along, take the horse or the cow away from the farmer and feed it to the hounds. They dispose of it. So there's a whole sort of infrastructure which townies don't understand. I'm not saying bring back hunting. That argument is basically lost. I understand that. But what I'm saying is there's a misconception or a misunderstanding of the countryside. It's a hard, tough life, which in a way, Jeremy Clarkson, I know he's a multi-millionaire landowner now, but he's shown this, hasn't he, in his programme, Clarkson's Farm. I was saying the other day about Clarkson has done more for farming than anyone and had a load of little twerps, all lefties, of course, all probably working for social services or working for the public services. I found this with lots of debates recently. The people who are vehemently left-wing or pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas, right? When you look at their bios, they're not doctors, but they're nurses, or they work in social services. They work in the public services. They've never had to turn a bloody dollar in their lives. Now, Clarkson has invented himself. He's a brilliant journalist, and what he did with Top Gear and then with the Grand Tour afterwards is phenomenal. He reinvented motoring telly. Now, he's done the same with farming. Now, I'm sure he went into farming. Well, he admits himself, doesn't he? He calls it diddly squat farm. He went into farming because he thought at the end he wouldn't have to pay the inheritance tax on it. Naughty, naughty, naughty. So he's been caught out. However, that does not negate or take away from what Jeremy Clarkson has done. He's shown just how difficult it is to earn a living in the countryside. All the bureaucracy, the way that council, West Oxfordshire, just down the road from where I am at the moment, actually, they've stopped him. So now he's opened his pub and he's selling local produce, but he's also brought the plight of the farmer and the countryside to the fore. So that these morons, public servants, never turn a dollar in their lives, saying, well, what's he done for the country? I didn't even bother answering them at first on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, because it was just such a stupid, trivial, sixth form attempt at making a point. He's done loads for farming, loads for the countryside. This man has brought the plight of farming, which is on its knees in this country, up. Now there's going to be this big demo, which he's going to head up as well, and rightly so. I don't believe they should be paying inheritance tax. Mind you, I'd go further. I don't think inheritance tax should exist at all. You've already paid the tax on it. Why should you have to pay again when you die? If you've got a different view, I want to hear from you. You can get in touch with me at Gaunt at johngaunt.com. I do apologize. Or get on Twitter or get on Facebook. The point I'm trying to make is he's done a lot, an awful lot for farming in this country. And this idea that it's inherently racist just winds me up no end. I don't understand it. I don't understand the jealousy of people when they talk about the countryside. They've got this, it's like, I would make it compulsory for kids to go and work on a farm, to understand what farming is, to understand the food doesn't all come in cling film in Sainsbury's fridge. They need to know. I always remember ages and ages ago when I was working for The Sun, I did an article about Gordon Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay was had some turkeys, and he was maturing the turkeys, and then he was going to slaughter them, and they were going to become his Christmas dinner. And he was involving the kids in it. And I thought that was brilliant because he, like me, wanted to know the kids to know where their food comes from. Now, I think if we did more of that in society as a whole, maybe we wouldn't eat such crap. Maybe we wouldn't eat all this ultra-processed food. This is why I'm applauding people like Robert Kennedy, who's now becoming like the food czar. He wants to make America eat healthy again. That's just a byproduct, by the way. Isn't it amazing the way that Trump has got together these different sorts of people and he's reinvented American politics? Meanwhile, we're still calling him a rapist and a xenophobe and whatever else. He's going to change the world. And people won't like it because of his brash style. But I think the way he's bringing in people of different talents, like he's brought in that talented guy to be basically, we'd call it chief of defense staff, basically in charge of the armed forces. And people seem to be getting their knickers in a twist because he used to be on Fox News. He's got tattoos and he actually had served in the military. Well, I would say they're all reasons to use him. When you think of some of the useless jerks we've had as defense ministers, maybe you begin to understand. And this is what I'm trying to say a lot recently on my podcasts and on these video casts is try and think outside the box. Don't just go Trump, rapist, abortionist, this, therefore all bad. Nobody is all bad. There are bits of what he's saying which is very interesting. If they manage to attack Big Pharma, PH, and Big Pharma, FA, in America, it will change the world. It will change this country without a shadow of a doubt. So meanwhile, we've got the Welsh government spending money, our money, of course, the whole of Britain's money, which they get given. They don't make enough of their own money, just like in Scotland. They don't make enough of their own money just to spend their own money. It's our money, all of our money from Great Britain. But they're spending their money on research into our dog's racist. Get a fucking life, will you? And get out of mine and yours. It's just ludicrous. If you see or you face racism, we should confront it. But this woke thing of finding it everywhere isn't helping anyone. And how bizarre that in America now, Trump's already started. I mean, he hasn't even become the president yet. He's only president-elect. He's had the meeting with Biden yesterday. But he's now saying, I'm getting rid of all that. He's bringing Elon Musk in to get rid of all the bureaucracy. We could do with an Elon Musk, a slasher, in this country. The civil service is bloated, and the lazy bastards don't even want to go to work. They don't want to go to work. They want to work from home. When I was on job seekers allowance, there was several times, and they said, oh, yeah, you meant to come in every 2 weeks and sign on. But after about the first couple of times, oh, no, you don't need to come in. Yeah, we'll phone you every 2 weeks. I said, what number do you want? Just give me your mobile number. So you give them. You could be anywhere, couldn't you? You could be in Tenerife, in the Cayman Isles. I doubt it on £92 a fortnight. But do you follow, or a week, sorry. Do you follow what I'm saying? Lazy gits are at home. They should be at work. COVID's over. Major cities are dying because everyone's working from home. Mind you, that said, I wouldn't have mind. I'm working for my daughter's kitchen at the moment. Slightly different as it's my own business, but you follow where I'm coming from. We've got to get out of this. So it's so bizarre that we're waiting to get out of this, or we're giving more of this woke cobblers, whilst Trump is saying he's going to get rid of it. This is the John Gaunt podcast. If you want to help me, you can go to www.buymeacoffee.com. It's a fun way of contributing, donating some money. Starts at £5. Some people have put 50, a lot of people put 15 quid in. Some people have put 100 quid in. If you fancy helping me to expand these podcasts and have these controversial, uncensored views and an alternative to the mainstream media, I'm relying on you. I know soon, because the audience is building, I'll get advertising to get behind this, or sponsorship. And indeed, if you want to sponsor me, if you've got a firm, get in touch as well. john@johngaunt.com. But for the moment, we're doing it fueled by coffee. So if you want to help me out, I sound like a bit drunk, don't I? I'm not. www.buymeacoffee.com. I'll tell you what I am. Is very relaxed. Coming here and looking after my daughter's dog. I have the house to myself all day. I just get really chilled out. She's got a telly, but it doesn't really work. So I basically read, listen to my audiobooks, carry on writing my novel, I'm trying to get into some sort of shape. And I'm also been doing I was doing lots of walking with the dog, but at the moment he's limping. But he's getting better. Anyway, let me get back to my point. Here's the controversial bit. I'll tell you why Wales want to ban dogs. Because one religion, and it is only one religion, don't like dogs. And I'm going to call it what it is. It's Muslims. Most Muslims and the Muslim religion, although it's evidently not in the Quran, I've been looking this up today, don't like dogs. They don't have dogs as pets. They will have them as guard dogs, but they won't have them as pets. And it's something to do with the saliva. I never knew this, found out this today, because they think the saliva of a dog is unclean. Well, that's all well and good. You can have your religious beliefs, and I haven't got a problem with that. But I have got a problem when, because of your dog, because you don't like dogs, because of your stupid religion. All religions are stupid, by the way. Because of your, look at the Archbishop. Well, how can we criticize Muslim or Muslim clerics when there's Burks like him in charge, turning a blind eye to kids being whipped 100 times on their arse until they bleed? Filthy bastard. And when I say that, I'm talking about the Archbishop, not just the pervert who did it. He's as bad as far as I'm concerned. I detract for a moment. Divert. Let me get back to my point. My point is this. If you don't think dogs are clean, fine. Where I've got the problem is when you want to impose your religious beliefs, in my opinion, stupid beliefs, on me and the rest of us. If I want to take my beautiful dog, my daughter's beautiful dog, for a walk in the Welsh Hills, I'm going to do it. And no effing Muslim or no effing busybody counsellor is going to stop me. And at that point, let me just say, have any Muslims actually complained? According to the articles I've read, this is BAME, some sort of BAME group. I hate that term as well. I think it's racist. But I'm not sure it's necessarily Muslims. But it is the Muslim or religion who don't like dogs. Now, we've already got this two-tier system because police will not take dogs generally if they're raiding a Muslim house. Even if they're a suspected bloody terrorist, they don't take the dog in. They also cover their feet. I say bollocks to that. If you think someone's a terrorist, I don't care whether they're a Jew, a Gentile, Hebrew, British, Christian, I don't care what they are. You smash the door in and then you start breaking a few schools to make an omelette. It's simple. There's no messing about. We've had enough of that messing about, haven't we? With people not being told the truth about certain people who are going to be on trial in January. I've had enough of it. Two-tier policing, two-tier care, two-tier judicial system. I mean, on that same token, the two Muslim lads who broke the policewoman's nose at Manchester Airport and the rest of it, they still haven't been charged. Now, if they're not going to be charged, tell us. If you think it's all down to police brutality, tell us. But the authorities don't because of the M word. And that's like these reports. I was reading these reports today, and then I even saw the Welsh councillor who's complained about this dog nonsense. He's a Welsh guy, and he's conservative, and he's a farmer. Even he didn't use the Muslim word. What he actually said was, oh, yeah, some communities skirted round it. I'll tell you why he skirted round it. He's scared, just like Alison Pearson from the Daily Telegraph, that there's a knock on the door. He opens the door. That's the first time you've seen a copper since VE Day, right? And the two of them, and they're going to say to you, you've been posting nasty things on Twitter. This is happening. This is George Orwell. They're knocking on that journalist's door. I don't really have a lot of time for it. I think she's a bit stupid. And they said to her, you did a tweet last year. And she goes, yeah, what was it about? Oh, we can't tell you that. Why not? Who's accusing me of that? I can't tell you that. All I can tell you is they're the victim. So I don't have to tell you who they are because that would be unfair to them. The victim. Huh? How are they the victim? I'm the bloody victim. You're telling me I've been a racist or I've done something wrong, but you won't tell me what it is. You're going to get arrested for thoughts next time. God, I'd have been put away for life about 20 odd years ago if you could get inside my brain. Well, that's the next step, isn't it? They'll come in the night. They'll put a syringe in your ear and suck out all the badness. And then they make a big list of all your bad thoughts, your evil thoughts. It's a bit like being back in the Catholic Church. Evil thoughts, like in the Blues Brothers, when the nun, the penguin, hits them in their hands and they're stuck in the desk, Elwood and Jake, yeah? And he goes, oh, fuck, and she's hitting them with a 12-inch ruler. It'll be like that soon. That's where our society's going. They want to police our words, our thoughts. I'm sure Alison Pearson wasn't racist. She might have said something a bit, maybe even off colour. But can't you express an opinion? Can't you say, I think the Muslim religion is ridiculous? I think you can. But they don't even now. You're not even allowed to put a picture of the Prophet up. Now, if that's their religion, fine. But I don't see why somebody who's not part of their religion can't do it. I'm not inciting you to do it. And I don't agree with all this burning of the Quran and the rest of it. But I'm just trying to make the point that it's all a bit daft, isn't it? I don't believe in your beliefs. So I am allowed to criticise it. I'm not allowed to be prejudiced here and say, oh, I'd never employ a Muslim or all Muslims are thick. I'm just saying I don't agree with the religion. I don't believe in it. I don't believe you're going to get however many virgins it is. It's not going to happen. It's bullshit. Yeah? Just like Jesus didn't walk on water, I don't think. You know what I mean? He didn't feed 5,000 with a couple of loaves and a couple of fish. He didn't do it. It's a story. It's a story to illustrate a point. But if you want to believe it, and if you want to believe you're going to go to heaven, so you'll put up with a shit life now, off you go. Fair enough, no problem. But I'm not going to believe it. I'm not going to pretend to believe it. And the Archbishop is the prime example. How dare he sit in the House of Lords, right, passing judgment and passing laws, right, agreeing to laws, when he's been turning a blind eye to some bloke who's been beating kids, not black and blue, but bleeding them till they bleed. And sodomising. How does that add up? Why should I have any respect for a religion that employs people like the Archbishop of Canterbury? And not just the Archbishop. When are the rest of them going to get arrested? Loads of them knew about it. But just like the Catholic Church before them, they want to keep it in the community. They don't want to damage the religion. Same with the Muslims. No one ever really condemns some of what they do. Some of what their extremists do. And of course, not all Muslims are extremists, like not all Roman Catholics pull out or play Vatican roulette. Do you understand what I'm getting at? But the ones of us who are sane who don't believe in any of this religious cobblers. Why should we be governing them? Why should any religion come above the law of the land? It shouldn't. There shouldn't be two-tier policing, a two-tier judicial system. No law should ever come above the law of this great country. But these stories, the Archbishop, the story about the racist dogs, and the fact that people think that everyone who lives in the countryside is loaded and is a fascist, it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. There's good and bad in all communities. And the countryside needs help. Do you remember the countryside? There's another classic. The Countryside Alliance a few years ago had a demo, and before you knew it, the boys in blue were beating 7 barrels of shit out of them. Doesn't happen on a Palestinian march, does it? Even if they've got Hamas flags. Oh, on you go, on you go. Mind how you go now. It's like Dixon and fucking Doc Green kind of police control. Tommy Robinson, I've not got much time for him either, but he organises the march. They're all petrified and they're basically, ooh. In fact, they put Tommy Robinson in prison before the march. And of course, that was also tied in with the man who's alleged to have killed those 3 young girls, those 3 little angels in Southport. It's bonkers. We need a fair judicial system. We need it to be fair for everybody. No favour based on what religion you are or what religion you aren't. It's not just plain common sense. And this prejudice against the countryside has got to stop. It's not a fashion. I'm in a little village at the moment. Now, I love it. I love the little village where people get to know you and the rest of it, and people talk more. It's much nicer than a big city. You know, when you go to London, they go on and on and on. Oh, it's great. It's so diverse. It's so diverse. Yeah, but everyone's trying to fucking stab you if you're not the same religion or the same colour, skin, or you're not in the right gang, or you come from the wrong postcode. Am I making this up? No, I'm not. And often they're stabbing their own people, which I just don't get either. And then when the police blow the brains out of that Chris Cabba, some black people get on unarmed, and a lot of white people as well, and basically say it's police brutality. We're living in a police state. No, we're not. He's a filthy gangster. I'm glad he had his brains blew out all across the rear window of that stolen car that he was driving. I'm glad. Obviously, I'd have rather him had a trial, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it. And then people have a go at the countryside as if, you know, just because if you go into a countryside pub, a proper pub, a drinking pub, you know, I don't mean places where they've got fucking mussels on the menu or whatever. My mate Brett had the best thing about it, that our local in Coventry, they've started to do food, and he's dead now. He died nearly a year ago. He's my best friend. And he said to me, I ate food in pubs. I said, why? He said, oh, if it's a proper eating house, fine, but in a normal pub, it shouldn't be. And he used to have this saying, he said, starts with pork scratchings, Gaunty. Then before you know it, it's cheese and onion rolls. Then it's fucking something with chips, and the whole place smells like a chip shop. And he said, then it's fancy, what do they call it? Gourmet cuisine, yeah? He says it's bullshit. It doesn't go with pubs, doesn't go with drink. And I think he's right. And then you've got screaming kids running around. If you want to do that, go to McDonald's or go to a Hungry Horse, somewhere like that. But don't bring it into a proper pub. In our pub now, they've got a restaurant next door, so they think it's okay. People can order. I know times are hard for pubs, and they can bring food in there. But you know, when you go early doors, 5:30, 6 o'clock, and all you want to do is be back where you used to be 20, 30 years ago, having a drink after work with your mates. So I got a group of mates I have a drink with early doors. But it's being ruined by the smell of food. I know that sounds pathetic, but it's rubbish, isn't it? You just want to stand around. It's not just men, by the way, men and women, having a chat, having a laugh, being a bit rude to each other. That's what we want. Can't we go back to that? Instead of living these separate lives. I hate you because you got more money than me. I hate you because you live in the countryside. I hate you, whatever. And also, if you want to make the countryside more inclusive, Mr. Starmer, why don't you reverse your decision on the buses? I'll get you, Blakey. I'll get you. No, was it? What did Blakey say? I'll get you. What was the bus driver called? Reg Varney's thing. Can't remember. Anyway, I don't know where these flights of fancy come from. Why not leave the bus cap at £2? I've been telling you for months. I come to Oxford on the train. I get on the bus. It's £2. It's about 9 mile away from Oxford where I'm going. Bus, fantastic, electric, on time, hunky-dory, loads of them, clean, lovely, efficient. I wouldn't come to Oxford in a car if you paid me. Well, you normally have to pay them, don't you, to go into the congestion zone. So I'm all for public transport. But what that idiot's done is now put it up to £3, which doesn't sound like a lot more money, but it's like a 50% rise. And if you skint, it's a lot of money. So if you want to make the countryside more inclusive, make it easier to get there, Mr. Starmer. And I'll tell you another thing about the countryside. Do you know what I like about the countryside? You know when you take packing up and you got it in foil or greaseproof paper and you sit halfway up a hill, yeah? Or you sit on the beach, right? You don't look around for Starbucks, do you? And an overpriced sandwich or coffee. You bring it in a flask or whatever. And then you eat your sandwiches, especially on the beach with sand in them. It's all part of the day out, yeah? Shut up. You're staying on the beach. I know it's -5. This is what my dad used to be like. We're bloody staying here now, and we're staying until Sherpa Tenzin comes back and helps me carry off the stuff off Harlem Bay. That's what my dad was like. We were there for the day, right? In fact, I think people spend less time at Dunkirk trying to get off that beach than I used to spend trying to get off Harlem Bay when it was blowing a gale. My dad had the windbreaker up, his little rubber mallet, and you sat there, right? And Mum got out the sarnies and got out the flask or some pop. And it was pop. If you were really feeling wealthy, dandelion and burdock from the Corona Man. Do you remember the Corona Man? Huh? None of that Coca-Cola shit that gives you... I can't say what it gives you, but I think you understand. Anyway. And you don't have somebody saying, mind the gap, or please dispose of your litter carefully. Please do this. Please do that. Instruction after instruction after instruction. Now wipe your arse. Only use 10 pieces of paper. Do you know what I mean? That's what I like about the countryside. My kids, when we used to go on holiday, even exotic holidays, I used to stand in the pool and just daydream the day away. And they say, Dad, what are you doing? We still laugh about it now. And I said, I'm just contemplating. And they say, what are you contemplating? That's for me to know and you to find out. Why don't you try? Just stand here and lose yourself. Oh, no, but I want to play on the dolphin. I'll go and play on the bloody dolphin then. I'm just standing here. Meditation, I guess it's called, isn't it? But that's what it's about, losing yourself. Went for a walk in the countryside the other day. And this particular time of year, where it's just getting a bit sharp in the mornings, the leaves are fallen. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. We don't make enough of the countryside. We don't get to the countryside enough. Admittedly, that's sometimes farmers' faults who don't keep the footpaths clear. But if you can get out, you should. And we need our children to know where our animals and our meat comes from. Then maybe they wouldn't eat such crap, as I said earlier. American Werewolf in London, that's the film with Rick Mayall. So what I'm saying is, can we stop this prejudice? The countryside is not fascist. Dogs are not racist. They're not. They're not. And if you can't, there is a kind of thought that if you don't like dogs or the kind of culture that you've come to live in, or even if you were born here, don't like it, fit in or ship out. Other people adapt to your way of life, and that's fine. Your religion, your cultural practices, what you want to do. You see, but I don't actually think this will probably be Muslims behind this. This will be some whiter than white, liberal, lily-livered, limp-wristed Guardian reader, Birkenstock sandal-wearing, lentil burger munching. Ooh, let's go to Sardinia or Catalonia for our holidays and go skinny dipping. Twat who's come out with this rubbish for the Welsh government, which you're paying for. I just find it lewd. What kind of world are we living in? Live and let live. But you ain't going to ban my dog or my daughter's dog from going in the countryside. You're not. You're not. Because that's part of the British way of life. We love our dogs. We love our pets. And get over yourself. What, a dog's saliva is somehow a problem. It's not. And why should we put up with that kind of medieval bullshit thinking? We shouldn't. If you agree with me, get on the email. It's john@johngaunt.com. Get on Twitter. It's John Gaunt, Jongaunt. Get on Facebook. It's the same hashtag or whatever you call it. Or indeed, why don't you support me? Send me a few quid. buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt. I'm going to read out all the names in the next video. I've just had to do one or two just to get used to doing it. Because, of course, I'm looking at myself. So it's a bit kind of off-putting to get back into the swing of it. It's not the best video in the world. Oh, I've got to say thank you. I was saying I've got to get some lights. And a guy, totally out of the blue, I think his name's Chris. If I got your name wrong, I apologise. He said, I've got some lights. Would you like them? I don't need them anymore. So I emailed him back saying, well, that's very generous. Are you sure? Do you want anything for them? No. I'll drop them round here if you give me your address. I said, well, I'm away at the moment, but when I come back, we'll get it sorted. How nice is that? Now I need somebody to donate a green screen so I can put them. Do you remember when I used to put that posh lounge up behind me? Yeah. Although I think it looks quite pretty behind me now. This thing, this is my daughter's kitchen. It's nice, isn't it? She collects glasses, as you can probably see. Very nice. Very nice. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the show. I hope you've enjoyed what we're talking about. Don't forget, I'm going to be bringing guests in very soon, next week or two. Then we're going to be doing some live shows. If you're not watching on YouTube yet, could you do that as well as download it? Download the audio one, because I've got to get me watch hours up. By getting the watch hours up, I can then get paid by YouTube. And all of these little bits of money are going to help me make it successful. I'm not trying to get a job on mainstream radio. Good job, because no one will give me one. Or even get back on doing TV slots. Not interested. I only ever want to say what I think. And that's what I've done today. Again, I've said some things that you agree with, some things you'll disagree with. That's fine. That's the nature of a John Gaunt broadcast. And that's what makes it unique. You notice I haven't got a script in front of me. I had my mobile phone today because I put a few notes on there, and especially that story about Wales. But we'll finish there just by me saying dogs are not racist. The countryside is not fascist. Most people in Britain are not racist. We're tolerant, we're lovely people, and we just want to live in harmony. Thanks for listening. You can help us out. You know what to do. If you want to push this for me, share the video or share the audio with lots of people. Please do that. I'm trying to get this off the ground. So see you later. Until we talk again. If you've got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. Hey, hey, hey! Don't forget to tell them you love them. See ya.